I know we've been wearing your butt out here, but you're going to hang in here for a couple of more hours with me, all right? I'm going to give it to you, all right? The secret. The secret's about to be revealed right now today, the secret, okay? You know, I have a saying. It's funny he ended with that, but I have a saying, the better you get, as you get really, really proficient at your business, it gets fun, easy, and profitable. One of the things that happened to me, and I'm going to talk a lot about this in my talk here right now, but one of the reasons I've been able to have a lot of success, and I was really able to have a considerable amount of success in a very that too in a relatively short period of time. I'm going to talk about my first 16 months in the business. Let me how to get out of here. Sorry about that. That was a Freudian slip there. How does this? Oh, there we go. So that's the title of my talk. But the reason I was able to have a lot of success in my business, all right, early and in a relatively short period of time compared to most people, is when I got to Primerica. I had been in 1979. And for those of you who've not heard me say this, I'll say it again, but it's worth repeating because it's really it's been the key to my success. Is in 1979 when I found Primerica found me. What happened was it 79? No, 1979 is when I started working. I graduated from college in 1979. I got a job in the retail jewelry business. I'd never sold anything before. So like a lot of you, I'd never sold. I didn't have any idea how to sell. I didn't have any idea how to train people. I didn't know how to do any of the things that I ultimately learned how to do well before in 1979 when I got into the retail jewelry business. And so I'm a reader. I've always read a lot. I've probably read since I was probably 18 years old, I think I've probably read at least 1,500 books having to do with success, personal development, anything having to do with getting better and succeeding. And I've spent, over the years, I've spent probably $150,000 to $200,000 on personal development. I mean, that means, paying for seminar tickets and audio programs and books and all the things advice and things. I've spent a lot of money relative to what I've made. It's peanuts, it's pennies on the dollar, but I spent a lot of money on trying to improve me. And so in 1979, I really made that decision to really get good at the sales business and to get good at leading people because I became a manager and all that stuff. So I started really, really paying attention to that and even got more hyper-focused on developing me. And this was because I didn't really start Primerica until January of 1984. So this is, basically 5 years before I even got into Primerica. I'd already started and made a decision that I was going to really prepare myself. And I was spending a lot of money when I didn't have a lot of money. And my wife, Jan, used to get mad at me all the time because, what are you spending? I'd spend $300 or $500 on a seminar or something like that. And she'd get pissed off at me for doing that. She said, why are you doing that? And I said, well, I'm trying to improve myself because I know there's going to be an opportunity someday that's going to present itself, and I want to be ready for it when it happens. And I was young when I was 22 years old, 23 years old when I made that decision, which is not normal. I understand that, but that's what I did. So I did that. So by the time I got to Primerica, I talk about this. I listened to Tom Hopkins' How to Master the Art of Selling Anything. It was 12 audio cassettes. And I must have worn out 4 or 5 sets. He had a program that if a tape broke, you sent it back and you replace it, right? So I wore out at least, 5, 6, 7, 8 sets, a bunch of them, because I listened to those audios on my way home to work and from work. It was like usually about an hour a day, every day for 3 years, over and over and over and over and over and over and then over again. I had a problem, and one of the problems was I'm naturally very shy. I'm a shy person. I'm not so shy today, but back then I was really shy. I was an introverted person. I hated rejection. I didn't like the way it felt. it was hard for me. I would, you've heard me say this before, but I'd be walking in the mall sometime, and maybe if I saw someone that say, Mark was a friend of mine, and I see him coming, but I don't really, I'm not good with the small talk, chit chat. So even though I know him, I would just go into a store and wait till he passed, and then when he passed, I'd come back out and go because I didn't know what to say, and I just didn't want to talk to him. Does anybody relate to that feeling? You know what I'm talking about? So for me to be in this business, for me to have this kind of success in this business is like, if you knew me back then, you'd go, no effing way that could happen. Okay? No way. Okay? But it did. And I'm going to tell you why it did. It did because I spent so much time and energy growing me. And I got to the point, since I hated rejection so much, I figured if I could master how to overcome all the objections and how to ask questions and do all the things that Tom taught me in his audio program, then I could really reduce the amount of rejection that I would experience. I would minimize that rejection factor, because the rejection for most of you is why you don't make more phone calls, why you don't prospect, why you don't follow up, why you don't invite people. Even for an event like this, don't you wish you could have had more people here today? Yeah, okay, but what really stopping all of you, and I mean even those of you that are already successful, some of you that are already doing quite well relative to your peers, what's really stopping you is fear. Fear is stopping you from doing more, from being more aggressive, if you are, assertive, and get after it in a stronger way, right? So what I did is I mastered those so that I could minimize, and I was able to do that. I got so good at asking questions. That's why if you listen to, I'm going to talk about this again, I'll say it right now. That Overcoming Objections CD, I did it years ago, but it's still relevant today as it was back then. If you would listen to it, really listen to it like 100 to 200 times and have your people do the same, the number of sales that your team would start making would grow like crazy, because what's stopping most of your people, they're hearing, I want to think about it, so they go, oh, okay, I'll get back to you. Or they're hearing, I already have somebody handling this for me. Oh, okay, well, I'll if you know anybody else is interested, give me a call, here's my card. Or any objection, or I think it's a pyramid, or whatever it is, those objections, and there's only 6, 7, 8, 9 of them that come up all the time, that once you really master them, they become fun. It's like more like fun for me. It's like, for me, I would just wait to see what they say, and then I would just, I would smile to myself like, all right, I got you, buddy. Because I knew how to do it. You know what I'm talking about, Mark, right? You just know it's like no big deal. But when you don't know what to do or know what to say, it's a big deal. It's scary, and it prevents you, it causes you to procrastinate. So this fear that you have causes you to procrastinate, and when you procrastinate, right, you start feeling bad about yourself, and it creates all kinds of terrible things for you, okay? So the key is for you to get your skill level up. I'm going to talk about that over and over, because if you are honest with yourself, right, if I could hook you up to one of those lie detector things and say, have you done everything you can to master all those 7 fundamentals and all the things I talk about already? Have you done everything? Are you really on top of that? The vast majority would be, the thing would go like this, okay? No way, no how. So you can't expect to have this huge success and not expect to pay a price of preparing yourself. It's just not possible. I don't care what it is. I'm a golf nut. I just joined my 5th country club this week. I joined a club in Scottsdale called Whisper Rock, which is the best club I've ever seen. It's unbelievable. It's a golfers club. It's not a country club. It's a golf club. There's 2 courses, and it's awesome. A bunch of professionals belong there, and I've been working. Because I'm into golf so much, I met a bunch of these different guys, not through different avenues, and I'm working with helping 4 guys. 3 of them are on the PGA Tour, and 1 guy's on the Web.com Tour with their mental part of their game, because I can't help them with golf because they're much better than me, but their mental part is what's holding them back from really going to another level and really having more success, which, by the way, is exactly what's preventing you from going to another level and having more success. It's the mental part of their game. It's not what they can do. It's what they think about. when they're playing golf, It's what you're thinking about before you go on an appointment. It's what you're thinking about before you make the call. It's what you're thinking about, which is why you don't talk to that person that looks like somebody you should talk to. It's your thinking that's preventing you from going where you want to go to the next level. It's always your thinking, always, not sometimes, always. So that's why working on yourself and reading the right things and associating with the right people is so critical, because your thoughts dictate they create your actions, and your actions create your results. So whatever you're thinking about is determining what you actually do, whether you make the call, don't make the call, follow up, don't do follow up, whatever it is, and then that creates a result. So it's always what you're thinking about that's doing that, okay? Always. So if we know the thinking is the genesis of everything that happens in your life that you create, then that's the thing you really, really need to pay just an enormous amount of attention to rectifying, to fixing, because it's the key. Because how can a kid like me, growing up, the fifth of 7 kids in a 1,000 square foot home with a bathroom the size of this podium right here with 5 women in it, right? Nobody in my family has ever had any success financially. Nobody before me, not one person had ever graduated from college. Not one person had ever owned a business. Not one person in my immediate or extended family, which is Mexican Catholic, and by definition is gigantic, okay, ever had any success. So I didn't have anybody to look to for success. I didn't have any mentors for success. Books, audios, and seminars were my mentors. That's how I did it, okay? And so why I'm saying this to you is you can't go to where you want to go. I know you all want much better lives than you currently have, right? For your families, for yourself, for everybody concerned, right? For charities, whatever it is that you're into, okay? You can't get there with your current level of awareness. You can't. You've got to grow. You've got to be on a mission to grow you and your thinking. That has to be, when you get up in the morning, everything about your day's got to be around, how can I get better? How can I do more, right? And so that's what I want from my talk. I want you to leave. I'm not going to give you every little detail. I think I was talking to some people. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to do a closing seminar, how to overcome objections, how to get people to do what it is you want them to do. I'm going to do a meeting like this, and I'm going to do the whole thing, okay? And go step by step on how you do that, because look, your key to your future is your ability to get people over to your way of thinking. You got to be able to get people over to your way of thinking. You got to get them to see why doing the thing that you want them to do is in their best interest and how it's going to benefit them and why it's good. Not because it benefits you, but why it's good for them. When it comes to investing, the whole point of it is why it's good for the client. The clients and those recruits, like you're all either in the business or whatever, your recruits, the only thing you really care about, if you're really honest, is what you're getting out of this meeting. Right? I mean, why spend $10 and spend sitting in a meeting with no breaks and all that for 5 hours, whatever it's going to be, right? Because you want to know what's in it for you to do that. What do I get from this association? The people you recruit want to know, why you, Tom? Right? Why not Mark? Why not Steve? Why you? Why should they be in your business? That's what they want to know. And you better have a damn good answer to that. Because if you don't, they're going to go somewhere else. So it's why Primerica, but it's not just why Primerica. We have amazing products and tools and all kinds of stuff, but that's not enough. It's why you as a person, you. It's why you, Jose. It's why you. And you better know how to answer that question. And you better have some value to back up why you. Right? You know why I didn't ever have any problem recruiting people? Because I did so much work on me that I knew beyond a shadow of a doubt they were never going to find another human being in Primerica or anywhere else that was as prepared or willing to prepare more or willing to help them get what they want more than me. Nobody, nowhere, not going to happen, not in this lifetime. Never. So I could sit and I could say, Alan, all this stuff aside, the reason you need to get in Primerica, Alan, is because of me. Because I'm really good. You put me in front of qualified people, I'm going to close 8, 9, 10 out of 10 people. I'm going to teach you how to make money. I know exactly how to do it. I know why to do it. I know how to do it. I know what to talk about. I know how to answer questions. I know how to do everything. And if you do that, you follow my advice, you follow my lead, you follow my example, there is no possibility for you to ever fail at this thing. And that's the real reason why you should get in Primerica. It's not because of Primerica, because Primerica is just a thing. It's just an entity. But I'm the reason. See, you need to get to that place. You start getting to that place, and you can talk to somebody, a sharp guy like Alan, like that. You're going to recruit a lot of those people. Not everybody. I didn't recruit everybody, but I recruited pretty much most of the people I wanted to recruit. But you've got to get to that place first. And that's really everything I'm talking about today is about that. There's a lot of work involved. You're not going to get there by coming to a meeting every now and then whenever you feel like it. You're not going to get there where you're listening to music on your radio when you're driving your car and not listening to audios and stuff that can help you. You're not going to get there if you get home and you watch sitcoms instead of studying and getting ready for the next day. You're not going to get there unless you manage your time a lot better than you're currently managing. You're not going to get there just because you have a good attitude. Anybody that tells you, oh, it's not that hard, it's easy, just show up and have a good attitude and it's kumbaya and everything goes great, that's BS. Anybody that becomes world class at something pays a price. There's nobody that's doing unbelievably well that doesn't pay a price. All the greatest musicians in the world, 10 years, 10,000 hours. All the greatest athletes, 10 years, 10,000 hours. All the great actors, 10 years, 10,000 hours, folks. It does not happen overnight. And anybody that feeds you that line of bull, you need to run away from them. I don't want to have you here and BS you and tell you, oh, if you just show up and have a good attitude, things are going to go great, because that's not true. It's only going to happen if you bust your ass and you get busy getting better at what we do. And when you recruit people, ultimately you got to let them know that also. Okay? Look, Chuck, you want more people to do what you're doing? Well, you need to be crystal clear about what it is you did and what it is you're doing and how you do it, and you got to expect them to do that. There's like this whole thing with this F&A. I don't know if I want to do the F&A because it's hard and it gets them distracted. That's ridiculous. So you have to spend more time training them. So what? What do you want? Are you serious about getting wealthy and financially independent or not? Which one is it? I'll do this, but I won't do that. If you're one of those people that always, I'll do this, but you have a lot of buts, right? Your butt's huge, right? You're going to have a problem. The majority of stuff I've had to do to get where I'm at, I did not want to do. And I know some of you have been around a long time, you haven't built a big base shop, and you know what it is you have to do, but you don't really want to do it. Well, you're going to keep getting what you're getting, or you're going to make a change, and you're going to start doing what you don't want to do, because it's the only way to get where you really, really want to go. There are no shortcuts. There's no, all these people have every month. I had this guy that was an RVP of mine. Since he's out of the business, he sold his business, but he was an RVP of mine. And he came in, and I bought the business. He came in, and because he was all excited to work with me, and he started doing everything I told him to, he was doing. He got his income to $500,000. And then what he started doing? He started having big events, fast start schools, and he'd bring in different speakers from all over Primerica, and every month, whoever he brought in, he would change his system to that new system. He didn't like my system because mine requires you to actually work, right? And so he would change, and pretty soon the income went from 500 to 400 to 300 to 200. He should be making $1 million and $1.5 million a year. Instead, he changed his philosophy every other month that he had a fast start school. You can't do that. You got to decide, what are you going to be? And for me, my goal in building my business was to have the best, most equipped, trained people in Primerica, period, flat out. That's it. I wanted to have the best. Whoever those were, they were going to know what they're doing. And this is why we were able to explode. Now, let me just show you what my first 5 years. I'm going to talk about these first 5 years. You've seen them. It's on the CD. I won't go into a lot of detail, but the bottom line is this. This was the foundation of my entire business career, my business in Primerica, and this is what I did, okay? So my personal recruits in 1984 were 25, 32 base shop, and 22 and 22 licenses. That's not an incredible year. I was part-time that year. I made $18,000 a year. I'll go about that. But the thing is, it wasn't just the 25. I recruited all 32 of those people. I didn't recruit 25, okay? The next year, I recruited 30, 64, and I recruited all those 64 too. You guys know what I'm talking about, right? Even though they weren't under me, I recruited them for somebody else. 64, 44 licenses. In 86, it was 36, 99. I didn't recruit all 99, but I probably recruited 80 of the 99, okay? 108, 108. 87, 47, 237, 468 in the hierarchy. Now, how do you go from that to that, from 108 to 468, which is a 400% increase? It's called training. It's called transferring what I knew and my skills to other people. It was no motivation involved there. And then it was 241 licenses. And then in 88, 26, 386. By the way, 386 was the biggest recruiting base shop year I've ever had in my entire career. Ever. Tom, you don't have to recruit 500, 700, 800 people a year. You don't have to do that. What you do have to do is train them, though. Okay? And then the hierarchy recruiting went to 1375. And the licenses went to 781. So the recruit to code ratio, the recruit to licensing ratio was about close to 60%. About 60% of the people that we recruited, we got licensed. Close to that. Maybe in the last year was a little less than that, but it was a lot. It's much higher. In Primerica, what is it right now? Like 20%, 15, 20%? I don't know what the number is. It's 29%. Okay, it's not very high. I don't know what it is. I know it's not as good as it could be. It's all training. Okay, so this is the premium. And by the way, in those years, the average life premium was about between $400 and $500. Today, it's like $800 to $200, right? A month, rather. Okay, so you can see what that was. Cases. This doesn't go very. And the cash. There you go. 18 grand. So 43. I made $18,000 that year. You know what I did is I you can go online. You can do a future value. If in today's dollars, right, with inflation, with what that would buy today, what that actually is. In that year, in 1984, I made $18,000. Today, that would be $40,000. Okay, in today's dollars. Okay, and then so in 85, you can see that whatever cases, 19 monthly average, 153,000, 35. I made 35 grand. Today would be 75,000. That would have been my second year if we were using today's dollars. In 86, see that cases went up a little bit. Hierarchy. 86,000, that would be 180,000 today. That would have been my third year in the business. And then my fourth year, things really started to take off. Base shop, we did 578 cases, or 578,000. 1.1 million in the hierarchy, 2,200 cases. So we went from 383 cases to 2,200 cases in 12 months. Can't do that if you don't have a lot of people knowing what they're doing, folks. You can't do it. You can't do it by yourself. You got to have people really, really knowing what they're doing in order to do that. Income went to 409 today. That would be 829. 88. 903. We did 1,800 cases in my base shop that year, 153 sales a month on basically 32 recruits a month. So 32 recruits, 153 sales, that's 5 sales for every recruit. Look at your numbers. Look at what the numbers you're doing with the recruiting you're doing right now. The only reason it's not more is because you have people out there closing transactions. They close some. You think because they do close 2 or 3 or 4 sales that they actually are really good at the business. But if you actually checked them to see what they were actually doing, you could see right away they're okay, but if they were as good as you or better, their ratios would be way different. But you never check that. You never check to see why they're doing what they're doing, or if they're. And the key is the ones that are actually getting results is the ones you really should pay attention to, because those are the ones that could really grow and become RVPs. It's not the ones that aren't doing anything. It's the ones that are doing something is the ones you need to sit down with and take a look at what they're doing and really check their performance. What are they presenting? How are they answering questions? What do they talk about? All that sort of thing. The hierarchy went to 6,000 cases. We went from 2,200 cases to 6,000 cases. That was all through First, by the way. So we were doing about 500 sales a month through First. What would that be today in income in Primerica? Huh? There's nobody even doing anything remotely close to that in Primerica. And the reason I show this, folks, is just so that you get what happens and how do you do that. And personal development is the key to this. It's the key to you being able to do this. The number one most valuable asset you have in your life is you. There's nothing more valuable than you are to your business. Nothing. And what you want an asset to do is you want it to grow, right? Because the asset, the more it grows, the more valuable it becomes. Would you agree with that? I mean, we're talking about investments all morning, but assets, which is your investments, you want them to grow. In order for you to have more, be more, do more, right? Have more freedom, you got to grow the asset. The asset in this case is you. The person whose button is in the seat is the most important person in your organization. And how you go, it goes. How you grow, it grows. If you don't grow, it don't grow. And some of you who have done well are doing okay, you stopped working on you. You know how I know? Because when I talk to you, same thing, same kinds of questions, same talk, same thing, nothing changes. The amount of energy or time you invest in you is going to determine any success you attain ultimately here or anywhere else for that matter. Even if you leave Primerica and this isn't for you, and I know it's not for everybody, it may not be for you. You may go, I don't know if this is for me. That's fine. It's not a problem. We don't need everybody to do it. We just need some people to do it, okay? And so, but even if you leave here, this is the best advice you could ever get, regardless of what you're going to do. If you go work for another company or you got another job, the more valuable you become, the more you know, the more skill sets you develop, the more valuable you are to your clients, if you will, or your employer. And that's how you grow your income there. Companies don't pay employees $200,000, $300,000, $500,000 a year unless they're hugely valuable to that company. There's no company that's going to pay you $100,000 because that $100,000 price is the wholesale cost. I love that. Who said that? I don't know who did that, but that was awesome. Because when you work for somebody, let's say that you're making $50,000 a year at your job. In order for a company to afford to pay you $50,000, they've got to be making probably $200,000 a year off of your efforts, or they can't pay you $50,000. You know what I'm talking about? I got a good job. I'm making $100,000 a year. Well, dummy, if you knew that they're making $300,000 off your $100,000, you wouldn't be so proud of your $100,000 income. Okay? So that's how it works. That's how life works. These are the key areas, sales skills. And you've got to get look, I am a professional salesperson. And I am damn proud of that. And I'm going to tell you why I'm proud of being a professional salespeople, because everything that happens in this world happens because some salesperson sells something so that thing, if the guy that sells the cars at a dealership is the guy ultimately who's responsible for the people that make that stitch the seats, that put in the radio, that put the car together, that do everything that has to do with that car. They should be kissing the rear ends of those salespeople, because without those salespeople selling those cars, they wouldn't have a job. If you have a job right now and you're working even if you work for the government, the only reason you have a government job because somebody in the private sector sells something, makes a profit, and pays taxes. Every one of us, right? Everybody is, the reason you are able to do well is because of somebody selling something. Those of you who think that sales is not an honorable profession, or that's not a good thing, or that only you have to be pushy or arrogant or whatever to be a salesperson, it's because you're ignorant on what a true professional salesperson is. A true professional salesperson, the person that really does well, their focus is on creating solutions for people. Okay, that's what their job is. Your ability to create solutions for people, like when we're talking about investments, one of the reasons that these guys that talk to you, they do so well, is that people have retirement needs, investment needs, and they're able to solve that issue for them. So they're able to do it in such a way, in such a proficient way, that a lot of people are willing to give them a lot of money, and they make a lot of money as a result of that. Sales, folks, is the engine of America and the world. It just is. You should never, ever be embarrassed. What you should be is strive to be a professional salesperson. Because a professional salesperson would never sell an item, a service, or anything that was not in the true best interest of the person that they're serving. No professional salesperson would ever do that. That's why I'm not embarrassed about it being a professional, because I would never sell a product, service, opportunity like Primerica unless I believed it was truly in the best interest of those people. I would never do that. And you should never do that either. Not to win a contest, not to get a promotion, not to whatever, right? All that stuff. That's not the reason to sell anything. The reason to sell something is because it enhances the life of the person that you're, the client or the potential prospect you're in front of, including, by the way, your team. Your team. Those of you who are in my organization in here, you are my client. This meeting I'm putting together today is to serve you, to give you information and advice and some expertise that can allow you to improve your business and your life. That's the whole purpose of this meeting. If it doesn't accomplish that, this meeting is a waste of time, which is why those motivational meetings are a waste of time, because they don't do that. Look, it's developing. I'm telling you, what happened to me, why I grew like crazy, is I had mastered the sales stuff that Tom taught, right? And I worked my tail off to teach Rick Susie, Gary McCrummon, George Verdugo, Jatinder Bajaj, Alan Souza, Steve Vasquez, Steve Cross. The list goes on and on, at teaching them how to do that. So what happened to all these people, all the people in my organization and in any organization, Primerica, including Marque and Alan and Mac and Van and everybody who's doing really well. I saw Mark and Sue Younger are here today. All those people, the reason they're doing so well is they are all professional salespeople. Whether they realize it or not, that's what they are, okay? And you better be working like crazy to make sure, if you want to make big money and have your people have huge success, you better be teaching them how to become professional salespeople. And there's two products we really sell here. We sell our financial products and we sell an opportunity. And they're the same to me. To me, selling the opportunity is the same as selling a term policy to replace a cash value. To me, it's no different. It's just a different set of features and benefits that the opportunity offers, different from the term insurance or an investment. But the selling is the same. There's no difference in the selling. That's why I don't understand why people only sell one product or do one thing. It doesn't make any sense to me. Why would you only do that? Why wouldn't you sell the opportunity, which is even better than selling any of our products in the end, right? Because I got a guy like Rick Susie, right? who did $1.4 million in premium last month, right? Who does $1 million, $1.5 million, $1.6 million or something a month in premium. That recruiting that one guy and training and developing that one guy, right, has probably made me $25 million since I've been in Primerica. Well, one guy. One guy. Recruiting and training Rick Susie has made me, it's probably going to end up making me $50 million before I'm dead and gone. Okay? One guy. And you know what? Rick Susie likes me. He does. You ask him. I love Rick, and he loves me. And I mean that in the right kind of way, okay? In fact, Rick, there's two people in my career that have actually pretty much done everything that I've said to do, and two people that to this day still everything I say. I was talking to Rick for a long time yesterday, and I was talking to him about this meeting, what dude, and he was like, he's one of the few people that goes, I get it, all right, I'll do it. He doesn't ever go, what's Hector trying to do to get me to do this? What's his ulterior motive? He doesn't do that. Rick and Chris are the only two that, I mean, a lot of you have listened to me to some extent, but they really all the way 100%. And even today, no question, they call me all the time, ask for advice, and still listen to me. Isn't it ironic they're the two highest paid guys, too? I don't know how that connection, you might want to explore that. And like I said here, the main reason you want to do this is because the only reason people quit Primerica is because they don't make enough money. In the end of, it's not all the stuff they read on the internet or all that stuff. The reason they leave is they don't make money. So if you're their leader, your number one job with a recruit is to teach them how to make money at this. Don't you remember when you started to make some money, how exciting it was when you went on an appointment and you closed your first life transaction and you checked out, you go, oh, that was $100 a month. I made $500. That took like 2 hours. This is like stealing. Right? In fact, I remember I was a regional leader. I'll never forget this because I was always into training. I always thought that was the most important thing to do. When I was a regional leader going to RVP, right? And I was, when I went RVP, I was doing like 50 apps a month in my 50 or 60 apps a month in my base shop, something like that. And I remember things started to come together, and I had a few people like, Rick or some other people Rick wasn't even in my base shop then, but there were some other people in my base shop. I made some calls, and I said, hey, Gary, how did it go tonight? He goes, oh, awesome, I wrote 2 sales. Hey, George, how did it go tonight? Oh, man, I wrote a sale. Hey, and I called like a bunch of people that night, because we didn't have, I had to go home and call. We didn't have cell phones back then. I didn't even have a computer. I got my income to $1 million a year without a cell phone and without a computer. Okay? And so I called these people, and that night I had written a couple transactions myself, field training sales, and I made enough calls, and I started adding it up, and I figured out with my overrides and everything, I made like a little over $3,000 that one night, in the one night. Okay? Yeah, wow. At that time, it was like, because, when I had a job, it took me almost a month to make $3,000. I made it in between 5 in the afternoon and 10 o'clock at night. I made $3,000, and I only did 2 of the transactions. The rest was overrides. Okay? So I sat down, I went, $3,000. It says, Jana, we made $3,000 tonight. Now, if I could do this every night of the week, that's 3,000 times 30. That's 90,000. That's a little over $1 million a year. So what I got to do is I got to find more motivated people, and I got to train them to be able to do what I do at the kitchen table. That's what I really got to do. So in order for me to get my income to $1 million a year, I got to have more of these people. So I knew with the team I had then, there's no way I'm going to do that every night. It's not possible. But if I had enough people that really knew what they're doing, and we could get to the point where we did this every night, then I could get my income to $1 million a year. And you know what? Does that sound simple? It's because it is. You guys are complicating this thing to no end. It's having people that are competent that can go and do that every night. The more of them you have, the more you make, the more overrides you make. You want to get your income to $1 million a year, then work your tail off to find those people, train them, and get them productive. That's all you have to do. Now, it's not that all you have to do because it's not easy to do. I know that because it's hard finding the right people, motivated people, but they're there. They're there. The better you get, the easier it gets to find them and the easier it gets to train them. There's not a person sitting in this room that with enough focus, energy, and commitment to them personally developing and teaching their people how to do this, there's not one of you that could not get your income over time. You're not going to do this overnight, but over time to $1 million a year. There ain't not one person. Every one of you could do it. Now, will you do it? You're all able, like he was talking about, but are you willing? That's the gotcha. That's when I do a talk or talk to people and all that. One of the reasons I stopped traveling and doing meetings and stuff, people go, hey, can you come talk to my team or all this stuff? And I go, no, I can't because I'll go tell them what to do and they won't do it anyways. So you're not going to do it. I know that. So what point would I come to go speak to your group for? What use is that? If you're interested, you come to my meetings. You can, anytime you want. Not a problem. I never had a problem. People come to my meetings. How many of you are not my organization that are here today? Raise your hand. Yeah. There's a lot of you, right? Right? So you're here. You're learning the same thing my people learn, right? Are learning, right, today. But the thing is, most people aren't going to do it. It doesn't matter. Only some have to do it in our business. You don't need everybody to do it. The worst mistake you could make is to have the belief, oh, it's too hard to get people to do it. I'm just going to do it myself. It's just easier if I just do it myself. That's the most short-sighted point of view ever. That's crazy. It's crazy to do that because once you got a person developed, you don't have to keep redeveloping them. You just got to get them there. Get them to that place where they're competent, they can do it, and they feel confident, right? Second thing is your people skills. Folks, I've seen more businesses derail because of poor people skills than just about anything else. I'm going to tell you something. Mark, are you still here, Sue or Mark? Okay. I'm going to tell you something. You know why they've had so much success in their career? They've made millions and millions of dollars a year. You know why? They have awesome people skills. They have fantastic people skills. Look, you don't have to be perfect, but man, you got to learn how to get people to like you and trust you. If people don't like you and trust you, they're not going to help you. In fact, they'll sabotage you. See, whenever I see people having problems with their people, they're in arguments and stuff like that, I always go, oh my God. Do they not understand that these people are their clients? Would you ever go into a client's home and start arguing with them? What moron would do that? Right? Why would you ever argue with your clients? It's dumb to have issues with your people. If I ever had an issue with a person, if maybe they got upset at something I said or something I did or something they thought that I implied or whatever, and that's happened to me, believe me, it's happened. You know what I do? I go to them, I say, listen, hey, Mark, listen, I know you're a little upset, but I feel bad about that, but would you do me a favor? Would you tell me what the real reason is you're upset with me? Because I don't, it's not my intention to upset you. I want you to be, that I care about you and that we're on the same team and I want you to succeed. So could you tell me what I did that's causing this little rift? Because I promise you I will rectify it immediately and I'll never repeat it with you, okay? Would you help me out? Would you do that for me? That's what I would do. Even if they were wrong, even if they misinterpreted what I said, I'd say, okay, I apologize. It's not what I meant. You misinterpreted it, but it's still my fault. It came across wrong, and I apologize for that. Never happen again, buddy. Because if your people don't know that you care about them and that everything you're about is helping them to get where they want to go, you're never going to get their full support. You're never going to get them to be completely on your team. You're never going to have that kind of dedication and loyalty that you want to have. And your people skills determine that, folks. I have this thing, Les Giblin. That Les Giblin book is like, it takes like 20 minutes to read it, okay? If I were you, okay, just me saying it, okay, take for what it's worth. If I were you, I'd read that like every day of 21 straight days, cover to cover, until I completely 100% understood everything in that book. And then I would actually implement it in my life from that point forward. If you guys would just do that, your recruiting would go up, your ability to get people to do more, everything would improve. Your ability to close sales would all improve. I promise you, okay? Again, most of you won't do it. Go to my website. You can get that book. It's, I don't know, $5 or something like whatever it is. It doesn't matter. It's worth 1,000, okay? But do that. Again, hey, Rick Susie comes across like a hard ass, right? Rick has great people skills. You know, I've known Rick for 33 years, I think, 34 years this year, I think. We've been friends. Rick, I play golf, a lot of golf with Rick, right? So we, play golf, meet people. He's always the life of the group. Phenomenal people skills. He gets everybody laughing, and he's just great with the people skills. Everybody that gets big has, all the guys I know that are really, really, really successful, and I know a lot of them, folks, the majority of them, not 100%, but the majority of them have very, very good people skills. I'd say it's 80% plus. So you need to grow those, all right? Leadership. Look, I would start with John Maxwell, developing the leader within and then developing the leaders around you, because that's the kind of the core. First, you got to figure out what a leader does. If you've never been in a leadership position before, then you know what does a leader do? These are basic books. He's written like 100 books. I don't know how many books he has, but he has a lot of them. But John's a good friend of mine, and I would read that first book and then the second book and start working it. And then there's tons of other ones. I'm not going to give you a whole list, but that's where I would start. And if I were you as an RVP, I would make all my new people read those two books. Because don't you want them to become leaders, Rick? That's what you want, right? So how are they supposed to do that if they've worked in construction or they're school teachers or whatever, and they have no concept of leadership or what it takes to be a leader or what the thinking of a leader is, or they need to learn how that works, right? I didn't know anything about leadership. I've read hundreds of books on leadership. I knew nothing about leadership, okay? I do now. Okay, so once you learn them and apply them, things will go. Time management. This is a big, big deal for most of you folks. You should read, this is a really good book called Getting Things Done. One of the things I always have done is I write everything down. I'm not as good. I'm actually gone back to it again, but I kind of let up for a while. But when I was building my business, like in that formative time that I just shared with you, and in years after that, during that time, I would never, ever, ever go to bed without writing every single thing I had to do the following day. I would never do it. It's midnight, I'd sit down, I'd write down who I had to call. I'd put their phone number right. If I needed to call Alan tomorrow, right, I'd write Alan's name, I'd put his phone number right there so I didn't have to look it up. I'd write it right there so I didn't have to look it up. If I told Mark that I was going to send him something that I read on the internet, I would write that down. Send this to Mark. If I said to a client, I don't know the answer to that, but you know what? I'll get that for you tomorrow, and I'll send that to you, or I'll call you tomorrow at 4:00. Okay? And then I'd write out 4:00. Let's say I was talking to Tom, and he had a question about something, and I didn't have the answer from right there. I'd write it down. 4:00. Put his number, and then at 4:00, boom, call Tom. And I did that for everything. I never, ever, 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 ever trusted my memory. Because if you trust your memory, there's no way you can remember, because life's hectic. You have a family, you've got a wife, you've got kids, you've got a job, you've got 25 different things going on. There's no possible way you can remember. But what this turns you into, when you do this, and you do it religiously, it turns you into a person of your word. Do you know how valuable it is to be a person of your word? To actually do what you tell other people you're going to do? You know how that elevates you in the esteem of people's eyes when you always do what you say you're going to do? You want to get a lot of referrals? You want people to trust you? You want people to be in your corner, to be your advocate? Start doing what you say you're going to do. It's so incredibly rare for people to do what they say they're going to do. It's very rare. If that becomes part and parcel of who you are and how you operate, you will distinguish yourself from everybody else. And you're going to get more productive. The other thing, you'll sleep better. I promise you. If you write everything down, you can go to bed at night and you won't have to worry because you know it's there. You don't have to, I got to remember to call Tom tomorrow. I got to remember to call, Jose. I got to remember to do this. You don't have to remember. There's no remembering. You just look at, here it is. Got to do that. And then what I would do, because this was in the old days before, these cell phones that are like computers, right? Back then I had a little Franklin planner, a junior Franklin planner, and so I had a highlighter. As soon as I accomplished one thing, I would highlight it. My goal was the day to have everything on the page highlighted, all done. Because then I knew I had a really productive day. You with me? Because what you guys need to become is way more productive than you are. You let countless hours in a week, in a month, in a year go by where nothing happens, where you're not doing anything to further your cause. And then you wonder why your income's the same this year than it was last year. Because you're not getting more efficient. It's about efficiency, folks. Highly, highly successful people guard their time like it's Fort Knox. They don't let anybody waste time. Like for me, I don't let anybody waste my time. Really, the only people I really talk to are people that are really on it and want to do something, because for me to try to get somebody going, it's a waste of time. Because look, if your family, your children, your spouse, your whatever doesn't motivate you to get busy, there is not one thing I could do to motivate you to get busy. Nothing. Zero. Those of you who aren't motivated, like now, I don't know, it's a lot of work to get a securities license. I don't know if I should start teaching my people how to do the F&A. It sounds good, but I don't think I'm sorry, I can't help you. You don't even want to help yourself. What am I going to do for you if you're not even willing to get out of your comfort zone a little bit and stretch yourself? Right? Okay. That's huge. Accountability. This is another big thing. You need to learn how to keep people accountable, right? To their commitments, their goals, everything they tell you. The right people, folks, they like I said, they relish accountability. They want to be held accountable. The wrong people don't. And if a person isn't open to accountability, that's fine. I don't have a judgment if you don't like accountability. I just know you're not going anywhere. They aren't serious about succeeding. And I wouldn't invest any time in those people. If somebody says, well, if I call them and then they get upset because I'm calling them all the time, but then they're not the right people. Stop calling them. Go find somebody else that's serious. Right? I didn't have to call Rick. Hey, are you coming to the meeting? What did you do in that appointment? I didn't have to do that with Rick, right? I did do it with him, but I didn't have to do it with him. I'd call Rick. This is what I used to do. This is exactly like I used to do, all right? So I call Rick, right? Miller. I say, Rick, how'd it go tonight? It went good today. We had 2 good appointments. Didn't close anything tonight, but it's good. I said, okay, great. So when are you going back? He tells me we're going back Thursday. And I'd write down, Rick return appointment Thursday. Right? Okay, great. Because you know what I'm going to do? On Thursday or on Friday, I'm going to say, Rick, you said you were going back to that appointment Thursday. Did you do it? Did you close it? And he's going, how did he remember that? I didn't remember it. I wrote it down. Okay? And then I'd say, so where are you at so far for the month? He goes, we're at 2 recruits and 4,000. It's good. Very good. Not bad. I was just talking to Chuck Negrete. He's at 5 recruits and 10 grand already. Man, we're going to have an awesome month. Hey, listen, I'll talk to you later. Boom, hang up. Now, if I made that call to you, Rick, and that happened, what would you be doing? That SOB, I'll show him, right? Which is exactly what I want him to do, just show me, right? And I did that with everybody. I was always doing that. And I got everybody kind of going after each other. And you should have seen when I had that year, 88, when I had a big base shop, and there were months when I did 250 sales in my base, and I'd have a fast start school, folks, and for the contest, whatever the contest was running, I'd have Rick would be doing 20 personal sales, Gary would be doing 20 personal sales, Steve Finger, who's quit, was doing 20 sales. Todd Mendel, who basically is, no, but he can go again. Anyways, he was doing 20 sales. I had 5, 6, 7 guys that were writing like 20 personal sales in a month. Not like 20 in their team. I'm talking them were doing that back then. Okay? And I was doing a ton too. There were months where I wrote, my best personal month, I wrote 36 personal sales in a month one time. I wrote 7 life sales on one Saturday. That's my all-time best one-day sales day. 7 in one day on a Saturday, okay? So we used to close. Why? Because we could close, that's why. These guys were closing frickin' machines, okay? We were closers. And the competition between those guys it was fierce, and it was fun, and it was a blast. And I was involved in the middle of it, and we were just getting after it and just, kicking rear end and taking names later. It was so much fun, folks. Exploding. Meeting attendance was exploding. Everything was exploding, and we were working, and people were knowing what they were doing, folks. It was an awesome, awesome time. And what you do is you get people competing. Look, if you're not competitive, if you're not a competitive person, you're never going to get big. I'm sorry. I mean, you could do okay in primary care, but to get big, right, you got to be really competitive. I am a really competitive person. I'm not outwardly like that, but I want to kick your rear end upside down. I want to beat you so bad. You go, Hector's in? I'm done. I'm out. Hector's in? We're competing for second. I'm done. I don't want any more of that. I don't want none of that. I wanted people to give up before they started. That's how much I wanted to beat people back then, right? I just wanted to beat them like a redheaded stepchild. That's what I wanted to do. And I wouldn't say anything. I would just work my rear end off and get after it like crazy. Folks, the reason I'm saying this to you is you can't be a little commune, everybody kumbaya, life is wonderful, green energy, and then win big. Okay? It's not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. You got to get after it and compete like crazy. And you know why most people don't compete? Because they're not any good and they're not confident. So you know what? You want to get people more competitive? Grow their skills, grow their knowledge so that they start feeling more confident and they'll start competing. If their competence level's low and their confidence level's low, it's because they're not very good. Nobody's going to enter into competition without some reasonable feeling that they can succeed, folks. Okay? They're not going to do it. All right, those 7 fundamentals. Look, I have that in detail in your CD, written out what those all mean. I'm not going to go into a lot of detail, but look, just to explain. I've been doing this for over 30 years, folks. I've been in Primerica. This year's 30 years for me. Okay? 30 years, not 30 months, 30 years. A lot of you, how many of you are younger than 30? Raise your hand if you're younger than 30. Look around the room, okay? Almost half the room is under 30, okay? When I started doing this, you were just an idea in your parents' mind, okay? And so I've been studying our business for 30 years. And what my ultimate thing I came up with is that there's 7 fundamentals that if any individual would master them in our business, would actually master them, not like get okay, but master them, it's impossible to fail in Primerica if you master these 7 things. Impossible. Assuming you work, okay? Assuming you work. That's a big assumption, by the way. But assuming you do and you master these things, and everybody who's big in Primerica right now has mastered them, all right? All the aforementioned people I talked about earlier, that are here, that are winning, they're all really good at these things. And the first is prospecting, because everything starts with prospecting. Folks, it's all about prospecting. All of you are here today because somebody prospected you. It's the only reason you're here. If somebody hadn't prospected you, and what does prospecting mean, okay? Prospecting, let me go back. Prospecting is simply talking to people about what it is you do or the services you offer. That's all prospecting is. And seeing if there might be some interest on the part of the prospect, okay, or the potential recruit. That's all prospecting is. It's talking to people about what you do. And what I did is I talked to so many people. I embarrassed Jan and Dak and Janae repeatedly. Everywhere I went, every time we went to eat, every time I went anywhere, I was talking to people. When we got in the car, every time we got in the car, I had an audio tape. It was Art Williams or Tom Hopkins or somebody, right? Oh, Dad, do we have to listen to that again? That's what they would say. They're not saying that now, okay? They're saying that back then. But I was just talk to everybody. I know you don't talk to everybody, most of you. You don't. You should, but you don't, right? Why? Fear. It's always fear. So, look, prospecting is, the warm market's the best. If you're going to build a big business, the best prospect is me recruiting Woody, getting Woody's list, whether it's 25, 30, 40 names, qualifying that list. Let's see which ones are married, homeowners, have kids, have decent jobs and are really stable. And maybe out of 30, there's 20 that are really fit that mold. I don't want to talk to the 10 that aren't. For me, during the training process, I will not allow him to take me to see anybody that's not on the ones that I approve of. So if you're a field trainer, I would never go on an appointment. I would never take Woody on an appointment that wasn't a qualified appointment. And let me tell you why. Because as soon as I start doing that, I start teaching Woody bad habits. A habit that's going to cost him money and cost him growth and cost him a lot of things, okay? And I'm not going to teach him that. So if he says, well, can't we go see that? No, we can't, because that person is really not qualified. Once you get your license, if you want to go waste your time to see them, that's fine, but you're not going to waste my time. Sound cold? It's not cold. It's telling them the truth. The truth is we need to see qualified people, because what I want Woody to experience is success. I want him to see the most success possible on those first few appointments. So if we go on 5 appointments and they're all really qualified, and with my skill level, we're going to close at least 4 out of 5. Right? And we're going to get referrals, and I'm going to probably recruit 1 or 2 people, and really good things are going to happen in that first week or so, right? First 2 weeks. And he's going to see that, number 1, Primerica works. You know why most people quit? They go on a few appointments, their trainer maybe goes on the wrong appointments or can't close or whatever, and they go, wow, that doesn't work. I just spent 2 hours, 4 hours doing this and nothing happened, and it doesn't work. Because number 1, he's not a closer, right? You got to be a closer. I wanted him to see success, because why do you think that we had such a high license to recruit ratio? The reason is because we had such a high closing ratio. And so, so Woody would see really good success right away. So would that motivate him or demotivate him to get a license? Yeah. What's going to demotivate him? No success. So that's why closing is the cornerstone. Getting fabulous at closing, it makes everything else possible. If you can't close, then he's not seeing success. If he's not seeing success, he doesn't see any reason why I should go through the hassle of getting a license and going to the school and all that. So why do it? It doesn't even work anyways. And then he gets home and his wife says, how'd it go? Oh, well, we had another appointment, but did you guys, anything happen? Did you close the sale? No, we didn't close the sale. And that happens 2 or 3 times, and his wife goes, wow, I thought they said you could make money at this thing. You're away from the kids, you're away from me, and you're not making any money. I don't think you should be doing that, honey. Dead. Another recruit gone. Right? You think I'm kidding? I'm not kidding. That's what happens. It's exactly what happens. So, you got to prospect. You got to learn how to set appointments. So, what do? You prospect. I get the names and numbers, and then we call them, and we set the appointments, right? And what I'm going to do with Woody, what I used to do, is I would sit down with Woody for a half hour, and I would role play how to set an appointment. And I would go back and forth until he could do it, until he felt comfortable that he could do it. And then I would have him call and set the appointment. Because I want him to get comfortable and confident setting appointments as soon as possible. So I'm going to spend some time to train him so that he feels confident to do it. And I'm going to be right there to help him if he stumbles or whatever, but I want to make sure he does it. Because if I can't get him setting appointments, because once we get going, right, if he's comfortable, I could be training other people. He could set appointments. He could call me, hey, Hector, I got an appointment with so-and-so. Okay, great. And then we go, right? That's what we do. So that's what I want to do. I want to make sure he feels comfortable and confident setting those appointments. Because without an appointment, there can't be a presentation. Without a presentation, there can't be a recruit or a sale. So if these two things are critical, they're in the order of importance, by the way, okay? Number 3 is presenting. Now, Woody sets the appointment. We go on the presentation. I do the presentation. This is his chance to learn how to do the business. He gets to see me in action. And what I would do if I were you, I would say to the trainee, I'd say, you know what? Now with your phones, you can tape, right? You can audio tape anything on your cell phone, right? Get permission from the client and say, would you mind if Woody taped this so that he can listen to it over? Because he's learning, I'm teaching him and he's learning how to do the business, and I want him to learn how I present and the questions I ask and how I answer those questions. Would you mind if we tape this session? We won't release it to anybody else, this information. And if they approve, then you tape it. And then now he can revisit that appointment as many times as possible, or sections of it, right? Or whatever. He can hear me do that presentation in real time with a real person in real life. That's a much better way for him to learn how to do what I'm doing, right? It could increase. So if he can listen to that 4 or 5 times, it's like going on 4 or 5 appointments, because he gets to hear it over and over. And repetition is the mother of learning, isn't it? Okay, so that's what I would do, okay? And then the presentation, as it says here, has to be question-oriented with tie-downs throughout. You got to be getting small commitments that leads to the main commitment. So the F&A, all those questions that are in the F&A, I came up with those questions. Those are questions that I would ask if I was on a appointment. So if you look at that F&A input, right, Woody? If you look at the F&A input sheet, I came up with, I don't know if all of them, but in the beginning I did. They may have changed some of them, but I came up with the majority of those questions because I wanted a new guy like Woody, who's just getting going. Now he's licensed and he's still not 100% there, but he's pretty good. He doesn't have to remember everything. He can just read the questions, the people answer the questions, and he can get the same or similar results that I would get if I was in the appointment, because I would be asking those questions. I didn't need an F&A input form to ask those questions. I had them down, but he needs it because he's new, and I want him to get to where I'm at. Does that make sense? Okay, so that's really, really important to do that. Overcoming the most common objections, we talked about that. These are like, I want to think it over. What exactly is what you do? What exactly, Bridget and Rick, would you like to think over? Like if I went to an appointment and I showed him and I could show him that we could reduce his debt and have more insurance. So just for my information, what part of it would you like to think over, Rick and Bridget? Is the part that you get out of debt in the next 10 years instead of 20 years and you save $70,000 in interest? Is that the part you want to think over? Is it the part where we took your insurance coverage from $100,000 to $400,000? Is that the part you need to think over? Is that you're going to retire at 55 instead of 70? Is that the part you'd like to think over? So really, is there anything that you really need to think over? No, we should just go ahead then, shouldn't we? Okay, great. So, when I went on an appointment last, right? 1992, okay? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Once you have it down, it never leaves you. It never leaves you. It's asking the key to mastering overcoming objections is mastering how to ask questions in the right way, like I just did. I asked a question, number one, that I already knew the answer to, and that if he said no to, he would look stupid. Right? Isn't that right? Okay. So you can't say no to that. So if you ask questions correctly, the problem, most of you, you're talking all the time. You're talking. You think if I talk more, they'll buy. No. If you ask more, they'll buy. If you talk more, they'll go, get me away from this idiot. That's what they think. All right? It's the questions. That's why that Overcoming Objections CD, you should listen to it 100, 200 times. If you're new, if I were you, I'd listen to it, put it on a loop on my iPhone or whatever and listen to it over and over and over and over as I'm going through my day at work. Most of you have jobs, it doesn't matter if they allow you to do that. Maybe some places don't, but if you can, I would do that. Because once you learn how to do that, what I'm talking about here, right? Like I'm not a salesperson. Somebody says I'm not a salesperson, then I say, really? So when you married Bridget, how did you get her to say yes? You put a full court closing seminar on to get her to say yes, right? I know you did that. No doubt about that. All closing, all selling is presenting your ideas and getting people to agree with your ideas and come over to your point of view. That's all selling is. And having enough information. Just like you learned, you work you did the body work part of this, I don't know, some Chevrolet dealership, right? Okay. So, and I would say, let me ask you a question. When you started there, did you know everything you know now about your job? How long did it take you to get really, really proficient and really good at what you do? 2 years. Okay. So you weren't born knowing how to do that? You put time in and then you learned it, right? And is there a reason you couldn't do the same thing here, using that same process? Yeah, of course you can. No matter what you do, you've learned it there. You can learn it here. What's the difference, right? So the point I'm trying to make is, it's the questions. Did I tell him anything? I didn't tell him anything. I very rarely tell people anything, but I ask lots of questions. Because questions lead people, right? You lead them with questions, and you push them with talking. So you want to think about this. When you're talking, you're being pushy. When you're asking questions, you're being pulley. And you want people going towards you or away from you. Which one is it? Then you got to get good at asking questions. Because questions are the answer, aren't they? And you didn't get that, did you? Maybe you will next time, won't you? Folks, all the stuff I'm talking about is something you can learn. You don't have to be a brilliant to do this. Anybody can do this, okay? Is it a pyramid? Anybody hear that? Is it a pyramid? I don't know. Tell me what a pyramid is. And then you got to make them tell you what a pyramid is, because they don't even know what a pyramid is. I don't know. It's like when you get those people involved, and you know, the guy at the top makes more money than the guy at the bottom. You ever hear that? Let me ask you a question. Is there somebody at your work that owns a company or is the president of the company? Yes. Are they above you? Yes. Do they make a lot more money than you? Yes. Do you work for a pyramid? Done. Right? Look, there's no such thing. It's not a pyramid. In fact, in our business, the beautiful part of our business is that people that, like, if you come in, you know, Mark, if you come into the business, if you do a better job, then you can actually make more money than me. I make more money than every one of my uplines except for 2. Okay? So if it were a pyramid, would that be possible? No. In our business, that's how it works. It has to do, you get paid on what you do. Right? So I don't have time. Well, Chuck, you tell me you don't have time, but right now at your job, what are you work in the retail grocery business, right? So what are your hours right now? What are your hours? 11 to 8 o'clock in the morning, so you work at night, right? When everybody's asleep, you're working. Okay, so then you get home, and then you probably sleep, what, 3 or 4? 5 in the afternoon, maybe? Okay, and then you go to work at 11? All right, so from 5 to 11 when you're awake, what happens? Watch TV, right? Maybe play with your kids a little bit or something, or go to the movies or whatever, right? But your time is free from 5 to 11 then, isn't it? And if we multiply it times 5, let's say it's 5 hours a day, times 5 is 25 hours a week. Looks to me, that's not including weekends or days off, that you probably have at least 25 to 40 hours extra a week that you can use at your discretion and do exactly what you want with that time, can't you? So the fact that, you know, the thing you said you don't have time, it's not really real, is it? What you're really saying to me when somebody tells me they don't have time, Chuck, what they're really saying to me is, I don't think if I invest time in that, it's going to be worth my while. It's going to be worth my time, and I think I'm going to waste my time, so I don't want to waste my time, so I'm just going to tell you I don't have time. Is that kind of where you're at? Yeah, that's what I thought. Well, let me show you how this is going to work, right? And then I'd go in and I'd close them all over again. But what did I tell him? Nothing. I told him nothing. I asked him a series of questions that got him to see how ridiculous the statement I don't have time is. That's all I did. I wasn't brutal to him. I just pointed it out, right? You might say, well, that's a little too direct. Look, you're either going to recruit this person or you're not. You're not going to recruit him by giving in, right? You got to point out that his point of view is wrong. It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't hold water is all it is, right? It doesn't hold water. Does cash value hold water? No, okay? Neither does that. Neither does any of these excuses, all right? I need to talk to my agent. Well, Mark, your agent got you in this product where you're spending $200 a month for something you should be spending about $78 a month, right? I showed you how you're going to have, $200,000 or $300,000 less at retirement than you currently have. He got you into this product. Assuming he cares about you, he sold you the product because he really cares about you, and he sold you the absolute best thing he had available at the time, right? So if he did this to you, and that's what best he could do, and I'm showing you something that's significantly better, that kind of smokes what you're currently doing with, what exactly is it that you need to talk to him about? It's ridiculous. He doesn't have to talk to his agent. When somebody tells me that, what they're really saying to me generally is, I can see I made a mistake before, and I'm afraid of making another mistake, so I don't want to make a decision tonight. I want to put it off because I'm afraid of making another mistake like the mistake I made previously. Is that kind of how you're feeling, Mark? Yeah. All right, let's go over this one more time so I can show you beyond a shadow of a doubt, step by step, why this is the right move for you and why it's the best thing that you could possibly do tonight. Okay? And then I'd go over all the details again and close them, right? But see, when don't you wish you could do it just like that? Huh? You can. You can. You can do that. That's just learning words. All I'm doing is words. You don't have to dig ditches or climb poles or, you know what I'm talking about? You're not like putting horseshoes on horses or you're not doing anything that's that difficult here. It's talking. Do you understand? I've made millions and millions of dollars in my career in Primerica simply talking. Do you understand that? Talking in air-conditioned houses. Driving to the house in an air-conditioned car. Talking. That's all our business is. Talking. Saying words. You guys talk every day anyways. You women, you talk twice as much. And by the way, that's not a dig. I'm not like Alan, right? I'm not trying to berate you for that. It's a fact. They found a protein in women that leads to more talking. Just read it too. I'm not kidding you. Swear to God. Look it up, right? Why do women talk more than men? There is a protein in their brains that gets them to talk more. It's about double every day. The number of words women say is about double, which makes them perfect for Primerica. Right? It's just talking. There's nothing to be afraid of once you learn how to talk in the proper sequence, because it's all sequence. Once you can talk in the proper sequence, it's done. It's easy. It's an easy business. Isn't that right? I mean, what do you do when you sit down with securities investment people? You talk in the right sequence. You have a beginning, a middle, and an end, and you just talk about these things, and you ask questions and get people to see why they should do business with you versus somewhere else. That's it, right? Not complicated. You could all do it. Beautiful. Well, you've heard me say that before. Mastering all our products. You need to master all the products. I don't have time to go, but you know what? You can't sell what you don't understand. If you don't understand all the features and benefits of all our products, you can't sell them. Like today, a lot of you saw stuff that you never heard before, right? You saw about different insurance products and different things that you never even saw before. You didn't even know that existed. You didn't know the compensation for those products existed. You didn't know any of that. A lot of you, right? You know that, right? So you can't present that material unless you understand it. So you need to put some energy and some time into understanding this. Look, you could go back to school. I always looked at Primerica like I was going back to school. So like when I have a degree, a BA in psychology and a minor in Spanish, okay? So I have a degree in psychology. I was going to be a clinical psychologist. once I got into business, I got into the jewelry business, I thought about, because I wanted to make more money, I wanted to get financially independent, I wanted to get free, so I thought about going back and getting an MBA. All right? I thought, if I go get an MBA, I could go get a better job, a better paying job, and have more career advancement possibilities. An MBA part-time would probably take 3 to 4 years, right? Because I was working, I had a job, and I had a family, and I couldn't go full-time. It would probably take, if you're full-time, it's a couple of years. If you're part-time, it's probably going to take longer. So when I looked at Primerica, I look, if I master this, right, instead of getting a master's, I master this, I can make a lot more money, be my own boss, and write my own ticket economically and financially and create my own, whatever I want to make, right? So how many of you have ever thought about going back to school and getting an advanced degree to help your life along? Right, a lot of you have, right? Probably most of you. So the fact is, why don't you look at this like that and study like it's that, like you want to get A's, and study the material. Look, and master all the products. Look, is it a lot of work to master all that stuff? Yes, it is. It's a lot of time and energy. You're going to have to give up TV. You're going to have to give up listening to the radio in your car. You're going to have to give up some stuff in the short range to master all this stuff. But once you've got it, you got it. You don't have to remaster it. Do you think I have to remaster how to close a sale? No, I know how to do it. If I decided today to go build a base shop right now again, do you think I would have any problem recruiting anybody and training people and closing sales and getting... None. To build a 100-gram base shop would be a piece of cake. Because I know exactly what you have to do that. You got to get wide. You got to train people really well. You got to make sure you pay all your attention, 80% of your attention to the right people. It's not complicated. It's that people are all over the place doing all kinds of goofy crap that has nothing to do with their business. And they don't manage their time. They waste time. That's all it is. So master the products. You got to learn how to recruit across the kitchen table, okay? You've got to be able to do that. I think recruiting somebody off their F&A when they have a shortfall, what's a typical shortfall? $1,000, $2,000, $3,000 a month? It's usually that much, isn't it? I mean... Yeah, how could you not if I'm sitting across the table, right, from Jose, and he's got $1,000 a month shortfall. He used to work in the restaurant business, right? He's as a waiter or whatever in the restaurant business in Las Vegas, and he was making decent money, 40, 50 grand a year doing that. But what I do is F&A, and he has these financial goals that he's $1,000 short every month. He can't even do it. We can't hit his goals without that $1,000. I'm going to say to him, look, Jose, I know you're really a motivated person. Wouldn't you really like to hit your financial goals and be able to retire sooner and be in really much better financial shape than you currently are right now? Okay, so can you make up that extra $1,000 a month at your job right now? Is that possible? No, maybe $100, work a little overtime or something like that, but you're not going to make up $1,000. So if I could show you how you could fit it into your current schedule where you don't have to give up anything, but you got to, invest a little bit of time. I can show you can make that extra $1,000 or $2,000 a month if you just let me teach you and you follow my example, you follow my training, you just do what I know beyond a shadow of doubt because of the kind of people you and Elvia are. You have really good credibility. You're both highly motivated people. You know a lot of people in town. So I know I could help you make $1,000 or $2,000 or more a month. I have no doubt in my mind I could help you do that. Elvia, is there any reason that you wouldn't allow me to take Jose a couple of nights a week out and make up that $1,000 or $2,000 a month so you guys can hit your goals you have? Would you object to that? No? All right, Jose. This is what we need to get started. Boom. Right into it, right? That's it. Recruiting across the kitchen table. It's not that difficult. All recruiting is asking questions. Finding out what people want, showing them how you can get them that. Field training a new agent. This is critical. Why do you need to train people? Because you need field trainers. You need people that know what they're doing. A lot of them, not one or two, but 5, 10, 15. You know how I exploded my business, like how I went in my base shop, was doing 153 sales a month. You know how I did that? Anybody like to do that? Right? Yeah? Okay. How I did that is I trained people so well. So this is what I would do, right? Let's say I'm working with Tom right here, right? So Tom's a new recruit. He's taking me on a bunch of appointments, right? And then I recruit Mark, and Mark's taking me a bunch of appointments. And I recruit, Woody, and these guys all at the same time. So these guys all have good markets. They're all busier than heck. And there's no way I can do all the appointments, right? You know what I used to do? All I did is I'd say, go ahead, Tom, set up that appointment. Yeah, Mark, set the appointment. Yeah, Woody, yeah, absolutely. No, right, do it. And I would do whichever ones I could do, right? And what I couldn't do, I'd call Steve Voska. Hey, Steve, could you do me a favor? Could you meet Woody at such an address and just tell him that I wasn't able to make it and you're going to take care of that appointment for him tonight? Okay, great. Hey, listen, Chuck, would you do me a favor? I can't meet Mark. Mark has 2 appointments tonight, and I'm already committed with Tom. Would you do me a favor? Would you go and meet Mark, right, and do this appointment for me? Now, Mark thinks I'm going to be Woody. They want me to be there, but you know what? Because I work so hard at training Chuck, he knows exactly what to do. He does everything like I do. So does Steve, right? So then they go train those guys. They get the same results. They close the sales if they're closable, right? Because they're closing 80+%. And I go train Tom. And I kept on doing this over and over and over again. So I would be training a bunch of people. I couldn't train them all. I had people within my... Back then it was Rick or Gary McCrummon or somebody else. I'd have them train those people for me. You did that for me more than once, right? So that's how I did that. And so you can really build if you have... But see, the problem is when you don't have people that are really trained. I would feel guilty sending Steve to go train Mark or Woody if I wasn't ultra confident that Steve knew exactly what he was doing. He had a securities license. He was really good. I wouldn't do it because I would feel guilty doing that. But if I did the work to make sure Steve was up to snuff and he knew what he was doing, and the same thing with Chuck, then I don't have any problem doing that. Now, they may be a little bit put out that I didn't show up, but once they get the result, they're not going to be put out. They're going to know that's great, right? And then that helps Steve. It helps Woody. It helps me. It helps us grow the business. You with me? But you can't do that unless you have really, really competent people. I know I'm a broken record, but that's what you do. You've got to get great at field training, and you've got to get people in the field. One of the most important things about field training and new recruit folks is getting their list. I would rather have your list than your IBA. The IBA to me is secondary to the list. The list is the most important thing because without the list, there's nowhere to go with a new recruit. If I don't get Woody's list, what am I going to do with Woody? Woody doesn't know how to do anything. He's useless without the list to me. I'm not going to create a list for him, right? I wouldn't do that. So Woody's list is what makes him valuable. Also, Woody's list is his investment in the business. Look, when you're investing $99 in a business that has a potential to pay you $1 million a year, that is nothing. That is like investing a negative amount of money. $99 is nothing. His real investment is that list and that warm market of his. That's his investment because that thing, right, could turn into who knows what, depending on who's in that list, right? That 25, 30, 40 names, there might be 5 or 10 really, really good people in there that we could recruit and train and develop that could turn into something great. That list has a potential to be worth hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars if it's treated correctly, right? It's the list. If somebody doesn't give you a list, say, adios, see you later, buddy. No reason to recruit somebody that doesn't have a list. People say, well, this person doesn't have a warm market. Well, then let somebody else work with him. I never would work with somebody that didn't have a warm market. What would you do that for? It's like a waste of time. Or they could go build a warm market, and then once they get the market, come back and see me. But I'm not going to recruit and work with somebody that has no list. It's retarded. They have nothing to invest in their business. Does that make sense? That's the investment. They're not investing any money. Time and the list. That's their investment, really. Feeling and then I'm going to go through this quick. This is something that I just read recently that it made a lot of sense. There are 3 basic levels of consciousness and sales ability. The lowest is inertia, governed by people that are apathetic, they're full of grief, or they have fear. These people that are salespeople are often told by prospects that they're not interested. So if you're hearing I'm not interested a lot, guess what? You might be this person, okay? The very nature of this exposes you to rejection. When you're in that low level of feeling, right, you're going to have a lot of rejection when you don't feel good about yourself, when you don't have any self-confidence. This is what you're going to experience. And then if it has all kinds of problems with concentration, etc. The low self-esteem creates discouragement and often expectations of failure. So this is another reason, this is the main thing, this is another reason why self-development is critical. As we grow in our skill and our ability, automatically our self-image grows as well. If you want your team to do more recruiting and sell more, then you must concentrate on growing their knowledge and skill. And you notice I keep saying that. But one of the things that I noticed in hearing everybody speak this morning is how much confidence they had. Even though they said, I'm nervous, or I don't really like to speak in front of the public, or whatever. You know what I noticed about Alan? He's a confident dude. Tom's a confident dude. And I know Woody's confident. Okay, he has a level of confidence. I guarantee you, if he's even in front of a client, not in front of 200 people or whatever this room holds, right? He doesn't have any nervousness about that because he's prepared and he's confident. He knows what he's talking about. He knows how to lead people. So this feeling that you have of lack of self-confidence is really a lack of being prepared. It's a lack of preparedness. It's like when you go into a test, when you know the night before you haven't studied for the test, how do you feel going into the test? Not good, right? It's the same thing when you go into appointments unprepared and you don't prepare. You don't really do your F&A correct. You don't spend enough time. Or you come into a meeting like today, unprepared, right? If I had come here and I was winging it, that would not be a good thing. I would have been really, really nervous. Okay, I was nervous anyways. I always get nervous, but not being prepared would have made me panicky, not just nervous. You with me? That's why preparation is so important. The next level is anger and pride. It's usually people come from that place. They prematurely close. They push too hard, which creates problems of its own. And their focus is self-gain. And their underlying viewpoint is I win, they lose. A lot of people in Primerica, how there may be some in here, but my experience with car salespeople is they mostly come from this place. That's my personal opinion, my personal experience. That may not be true of all of them, but I've noticed that. And that's what they're totally worried about. And therefore, they really struggle in Primerica because when you're me motivated instead of us motivated, right, where it's a win-win situation, they have a lot of problems. They can't develop people. They can't develop an organization. They very rarely do well, okay? And I'm not saying if you're a car salesperson, I'm not saying you can't make it. But if you're me motivated, you got a problem here. Cannot be me motivated in Primerica and then build this amazing sales force. It's not going to happen. So they get this a lot. I want to think about it, or don't make decisions on the first appointment. When people know you're there for them and they can really feel it and see it, you're not going to get that kind of feeling. I guarantee you, most of the guys that spoke tonight, you're not hearing that a lot, right? I want to think about it. I hardly ever heard I want to think about it, or I knew how to overcome it, but I almost never heard it because everything about my presentation, it was about getting them what they wanted. I didn't even think about me at all, okay? They think I want them to join so I can get a promotion. I want them to buy so I can get a commission. It leads to limited success. But the third highest level is really where you all want to get to. And this is, if you get to this place, things start getting much easier. And that's where, feelings of courage, acceptance, and love. The one thing everybody really, 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 really wants more than anything else is they want to feel appreciated and they want to feel loved. I don't know how many times a day my wife asks me, "Do you love me?" Am I the only one that hears that from their spouse? Right? I get that multiple times a day. I've been telling her, of course I love you more than anything. You're the most special, most important person in my life. Let's tell her that 10 times a day for the last 37 years. Okay? Doesn't matter. They cannot hear it or feel it enough. And you guys who hold that back, you're idiots, okay? Your life would be so much better if you didn't wait for them to ask you and you told them that multiple times a day. I guarantee it. You macho boneheads, okay? You need to be telling them. You'd get so much mileage. You would be so much happier, I promise you, okay? It's part of that people skills things, you guys, okay? Women, am I right about that or not? Yeah, I know I am, right? So salespeople on this level are able to listen carefully to the prospect. You know why they're able to listen carefully to the prospect? Because they're not thinking about what they want to say next and what they want to do and what's on their agenda. They're actually listening to the person, right? And whether in context of whether it's beneficial to the buyer rather than to the seller. At this level, they're never at a loss for creative ideas that will produce a sale or will turn a problem into a solution. The person at this level often turns customers or recruits into friends that tend to become loyal. When you come into every sales transaction and every recruiting situation with this point of view, loyalty, friendship, help, starts going through the roof. You start getting people helping you like crazy. All kinds of amazing things begin to happen to you in your life and in your business when this is the way you come. Look, this feeling of I got to close a sale to make a commission, all that, it comes from a place of lack. Like you lack. It comes from a place of wanting. When you come from a place where you are really in it to help these people first, when you understand the adage, in order to become really successful, you have to help more people get what they want. When you really do that, and it's not just words, it's just not a quote that you have on a piece of paper, or when it's true, when you really approach every individual that you sit down with, every client, every potential prospect, whether it's a recruit or a client, with the attitude that, you know what, I'm here to help them get what they want. Whatever that thing happens to be, I'm going to figure out a way to facilitate them getting what they want. And that's the way you approach every sales transaction, everything you do. You're going to start having way better results. You know why? Because human beings have a sixth sense. Women have a stronger sense of this, right? But they can detect the bullshit meter. Like they have a bullshit meter that goes like this when they can do that, right? And you know what I'm talking about, right? And so what happens is they start, when people aren't genuine and when they aren't really trying to help you, you can feel it. You ever go in a sales situation when you can tell the guy or the gal that's selling, they don't care about you. They're just trying to get you to buy something, and they don't really care about your needs. They don't ask you any questions. They don't find out what you really want. You know, they're not really listening to you. You know what I'm talking about? Okay, so you don't want to be that salesperson, right? Because people can feel it. Hopefully, like as I'm doing this, you can feel this to me isn't, do I want to grow my business and make more money? Of course I do. I mean, that's a given. Who doesn't want to do that, right? Okay, but can you feel that that's not really the main motivation for me? It just never has been. You know that I haven't looked at a Primerica paycheck. Not once. Not any. Since 1985. Not one. Ask my wife. Never. I never worry about the money. Never worried about the money. Never. Never thought about it. Never, never ever been the issue for me. Because I've always understood, because of all the work I did before I understood very clearly that my ability to help other people get what they want is how the money comes. And the money will come. If I focus on that, the money will come. I don't need to worry about making money. Right? I've seen Danny. Is that Danny? Is that you, Danny? Right? Danny. You know, you're making enough money to live right now, right? You don't need to worry about money. You need to worry about helping your team get better and helping your clients have a better result. If you focus on that, the money will come way faster than you ever thought. It'll start coming in like crazy. That's what starts happening. And you just keep doing that. Keep giving, keep giving, keep giving. Does everybody appreciate it? No. Lots of people don't appreciate it. Lots of people, but some do. But some do. Look, I put on this meeting. You know how many of my own RVPs aren't here today that didn't come, that didn't buy tickets, that didn't come to this thing? They're the same ones that complain that I don't do anything for them, okay? Achievement of sale and recruiting goals on this level, well, that's a good point, though, because a lot of you get upset with your people that don't worry about it. Maybe they'll come next time, or maybe they won't. Or maybe some other people here and their people will get it. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. For me to get upset with them and argue with them and fight with them and call, why weren't you at my meeting? I'm not going to do that. What's the point of that? To create division and animosity? Why would I do that? I'll find other people that want to win. Right? I know some of you really want to win. I know Chuck really wants to win. I know Jose really wants. I know you guys that are here, You wouldn't be here if you didn't want to win. So guess what? I'm going to give you all I got. That's what I'm going to do. The rest of them, whatever. And you should do the same thing, guys. You should do that same thing. Don't worry about the ones that don't, you can't. Look, this is not a business of control, Primerica. You got a control issue, you got a problem, Primerica. You cannot be a control freak and build a great Primerica business because you got to give up control. You got to let people be who they're going to be. You got to show them that it's better for them to follow you because you have so much value than try to force them to follow you. That doesn't work. People are free agents. Not one of you has to be here today. Every one of you are here of your own volition. Because you perceive that there would be some value here today. This is the reason you're here. Or else you wouldn't be here. Right, Danny? And have you gotten some value today? Yeah, okay, so that's why you're here. And because you're getting value is why you'll come back. And that's why your people will come back. You want them coming? Make your meetings so full of content and great stuff for them to win that they can't miss it. That they start telling other people about it. You know what I'm saying? Okay, achievement of sale and recruiting goals on this level are certainty because what is being held in your mind, right, in your thoughts, in your beliefs, is a positive situation of win-win and the inner certainty that a win-win solution can be created in any situation. Success in the world is related to our ability to concentrate. This is a very important thing. This is a long meeting today. And I know you're getting tired, and some of you hungry, and you're thirsty, and whatever, right? I am too. I got to go pee right now, okay? So I know what you're talking about, okay? But it's related to your ability to concentrate, which means the ability to keep our attention on one thing at a time without interference or distractions of other things, thoughts, or feelings. One thing at a time. I talked in my call that you're going to hear next week on Tuesday, that post, you've heard me say this before, but distraction leads to your economic destruction. And a lot of you who've had huge potential, who have done okay, but have not done as well as you can, I promise you it is because you get distracted too much. It doesn't make you a bad person. There's nothing wrong with you, okay? I'm just pointing out a reality. If you are getting distracted by every little thing that happens and goes on, and you're not focused on what grows your business and how to get to the next level and how to get better and how to develop your people better, right, which is what you should be focused on, and you get distracted by who knows what, it's going to be really hard for you to get where you want to go. You've got to eliminate the distractions, especially in the period of time where you're really trying to build to get your business to a point where it could take care of you. In the early stages of my career, I didn't let anything distract me. You would have had to hit me upside the head with a 2x4 to get me off track of recruiting, training, and developing people. That's all I thought about. That's all I focused on. That's all I did. Yeah, nothing would have got me off that. Nothing. No, not golf, which I love now. Not tennis. Not going, watching football on Sunday. Nothing got me distracted. I was like a frick. I sent a quote to a lot of you, a little message to a lot of you asking you, what are your goals for March? Do you have them written down? And are you vividly imagining those goals? I sent that to a bunch of people that are on my list, right? Because that's what you need to do. You need to have them written down. You need to know what your goals are. You have to write them down. You need to focus on them like a laser, and you got to vividly imagine what you're trying to do, right? If I were you, before you leave here, look around. Just really look around here and visualize you doing a meeting like this for your team. Not Hector's team, your team. This is your organization. You're overriding every single body in here. And every time everybody writes any transaction, they write a mutual fund, any kind of investment, they do a prepaid legal, they do a auto and home, they do a life insurance policy or whatever else we offer, a debt elimination product. Every single time anybody, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, does a transaction, cha-ching. Cha-ching. Imagine if I had that on my phone where every time somebody did it, it went cha-ching. I'm making money all hours of the day and night, man, every day. I am, everywhere, right? I mean, just happening, right? I want you to imagine that for yourself. Not for me, but for yourself. That's the point of this whole thing, folks. It's awesome. It's just so awesome that you can do that in this country. It's awesome. And the only thing that holds you back is you. Isn't that great? And you control you. It's awesome. A mind that's concentrated on positive thought has the power to increase the likelihood of that positive will materialize in the world. Whatever you hold in mind. The most successful people in the world are those who hold in mind the highest good of all concerned, including including yourself, right? They know it's a win-win solution to every problem. And they're at peace with themselves, which allow them to be supportive of their potential successes of others, right? You're happy to see other people succeed. They do work they love, so they feel continually inspired and creative. They do not seek happiness. They've discovered that happiness is a byproduct of doing what they love. Folks, I love doing this. Okay? I hope you feel that I'm enjoying myself today. This, to me, is not work, okay? This has never been work for me. I haven't worked a day in however long, 30 years I've been in Primerica. This is not work. This is what I really wanted to do with my life, actually. It wasn't even really just build a financial sales force. My goal with my life has always been to help people grow their self-image. That's been the purpose of Hector Lamarque's life, is to help other people grow their self-image. And I've realized that the easiest and best way for me to do that is to help people grow their skill, their knowledge. That automatically grows their self-confidence, which grows their self-image. Okay? So that's always been my goal. That's why I was going to become a psychologist. That's the reason I went to school and studied psychology, and the only reason I didn't go on with that is I got married, I needed to make money, and in order to make any money as a psychologist, you got to have a PhD. That would have been another 5 or 6 years, and I got into sales, and all of a sudden, it was a right fit for me, and this is what happened. Okay? But that core purpose of my life has always been the same, right? Has always been the same. Look at why should you recruit? Over half of employees are dissatisfied with their jobs or careers. You know that, right? How many of you are dissatisfied that are not a full-time primary? How many of you are dissatisfied with your job, your career, and your income right now? Raise your hand if you're dissatisfied. Look around. Keep your hand up, please, and look around. You think these are the only, thank you very much. You think these are the only people out there? You kidding me? You guys ever drive around on the freeways in Southern California? Look, when I'm in Newport Beach, right, and I drive to, my kids live in Pasadena and Silver Lake, right? And so we go there a lot to go to dinner, go see the grandkids and stuff like that, right? So we drive a lot, usually not in traffic times, right? But it doesn't matter when you drive into L.A. or that place. It's always packed. Everywhere you go, there's just freaking thousands of people everywhere. The majority miserable. Wanting something more, wanting a better life, wanting to make more money, wanting more security, wanting to live in a better area so their kids can be safe. I mean, all kinds of things. The majority of people are in that place. Okay, so there's the recruiting potential for you if you get serious is gigantic, okay? You need to look at this right. In the next 6 months, 60% of workers are going to search for another job or career. 60%. That means when you're driving down the freeway, 6 out of 10 cars you pass are going to be looking for another job or career. How badly do you need more trained people to take advantage of that, right? The typical worker in the U.S. will have 9 different jobs or careers by age 32. Let's get them here and keep them here. And how do we keep them? By training them, okay? Finances of the typical American. Most people in the U.S. live paycheck to paycheck. They're on a major medical or financial issue. They're one major medical or financial issue from bankrupting them, which we saw that earlier. There's just one. Like right now, if the average person you sit down with today, if their income were gone for 3 to 6 months, they'd be going bankrupt. They'd be going to foreclosure. Houses would be going to foreclosure. They'd be losing their cars, all kinds of stuff. They're that close because they have no money saved. They have no emergency account like we set up for them. They don't have any cushion. The majority of people. That's how most people live. If I was sitting down with somebody, I'd say most people live paycheck to paycheck. Do you want to live that way the rest of your life till your days are done here? Would you like to get yourself to a position where you didn't have to worry about money anymore, that money was a non-issue, and you can do exactly what you want to do every day? Would something like that be of interest to you? Let me show you how I can help you do that. That's all you have to do. Ask a question. Ask a question. You don't have to tell them anything. 45% have less than $25,000 in savings and investments aside from equity in their primary residence, and most people have no equity in their homes today. Right? How often do you run into people who have 25 grand in savings today? They don't even have that. Come on. How could you not recruit these people? I tell people, look, Tom, you can't afford not to get in business with me, buddy. How could you possibly say no to me? You told me you're making 50 grand a year. You want to make 100 or 150 grand. You said there's no way you could do it your job, and yet you're here telling me you want to think about it? Does that sound right to you? Come on, Tom. Let me help you, please. That's how I would talk to a person. Just like that. It's ridiculous he's saying no to me. How could he possibly say no to me? Anytime somebody say no to me, I go, what? No? What do you mean no? That's how I felt. Can't say no to this. You look where you're at. Not that it's a bad thing, but it's not where you want to be. And you said you want to be here, and you can't get there where you are. And I'm offering you a way to get there, and you're saying, no, I don't want to take that road. How could you do that? How would you, for good conscience, say that to me? You think that's too pushy, too harsh, too... No. It's because I care about him and I want to help him. Obviously, he's got to want to help himself, but man, you've got to start feeling that way because, look, you've got the answer and the solution through your business opportunity, you guys. It's not just the products. It's the business opportunity. The business opportunity offers even more if they do it right. Right? Tom, how much have you made since you've been in Primerica? How much Primerica income have you made? I know you've made money in investments and other things, but how just in Primerica income do you think? What's a rough amount? $6 million. How about you, Mark? What do you think you've made since you've been here? $11 million? Yeah? Hey, Mark and Sue, how much do you think you guys have made since you've been here? $31 million. Okay. Could you imagine, I didn't recruit all these people, could you imagine if I would have let them say no to me? If Rick would have let them say no? Or if the youngers would have let Mark say no, right? Or if George would have let Tom say no, how much different their life would have been? Come on. You can't let them say no. You got to get better so they can't say no. Okay? Over 50% or sometimes, I think it's more than that, worry about their finances. I believe it's a lot higher than that. I think most people, I think it's probably close to 80% of the people are really worried about stuff, especially in this economy, right? People are worried about that. They want solutions. They want answers. This stuff that we do with F&A puts them in a position where the financial part, that's one less thing for them to worry about because at least they have a plan and a road to go on to get to where they want to go, right? Financial stress is a leading cause of discord in marriages and divorce. Think about how much you and your partner talk about money, and it isn't about having too much. Right? You know, I want you to think about how much you think and talk about money with your partner, right? If you have a partner, right? And I want you to just know that 90% of the people out there have those same conversations. You think everybody's doing honky-dory, and the fact is you don't know what's happening behind those doors. People are nervous right now. They need a plan. They need an advisor. They need a new opportunity. They need something that you can offer them. Look, the greatest thing is you, right, have the solution to these people's financials. Debt, protection, retirement, earning more money. When you finally realize you're most likely the only solution for most families and you act on it, your biz will take off. The gotcha is you have to become a pro at the kitchen table to fully realize this potential. This can't happen unless you know how to do all those things. It can't happen for your teammates unless they know how to do all these things, okay? It can't happen. And you know, I know that we can't go through every single thing, but this is kind of a saying I heard a long time ago. I just took credit for it now. It's so old, right? You make a living from 9 to 5, but you get rich or wealthy based on how you spend your time after 5. Okay? You should tell people that, okay? I would tell my clients that. I'd say, look, you're going to make a decent living working 9 to 5, but if your goal is to become wealthy and free financially, you're going to have to invest some time after 5 for that to happen, because it ain't going to happen that way, or it's going to take forever and ever, okay? So I think that's basically it for me, right? All right. There's more. The reason so many people fail in business is lack of a proven plan, lack of capital, help from others who've been successful in the business they're beginning. You have none of those issues in Primerica, do you? You don't have any of those issues that a typical person that starts a business has. When people make a mistake, it's in thinking they can be successful in a business without first mastering the fundamentals of that business. To think you can become successful and not prepare is to succeed as naive. The real reason I've succeeded, I've said this over and over today, right, is because of a relentless focus on growing and improving at all of the critical areas in Primerica. Your level of preparation always precedes your level of success. There are no exceptions to this reality. Only you know how much or how little time and energy you've invested, but the rest of us know by your results, because they never lie. The greatest deed is to help others succeed. To help others, we must first help ourselves. Once our house is in order, we can help others to learn to help themselves. When you help others, you automatically help yourself in more ways than only in money. Like, you need to get your own F&A done. I know a lot of you don't have one. I know you don't. You know who you are, but you need to get one. And you need to start implementing and that F&A on your own life. You need to start getting rid of your debt. You need to start saving more money. You need to start making more money. You need to start being a product of the product, because you're never going to get people. You're not going to have any integrity with people unless you do it yourself first, because you can't help people when you haven't helped yourself first, okay? You've got to do that first. So I know a lot of things are pulling at you, but you've got to do that. You're going to make a decision today one way or another, right? You're going to decide, oh, this is too much. I don't want to have to learn all that stuff Hector talked about. This is going to take me forever. Or you're going to say, you know what? I'm going to start working on that. I'm going to chip away that. Every day I'm going to get better. Every day I'm going to improve myself. Every day I'm going to, get a little, every week I'm going to be a little better than the week before. And over time, I know that's going to turn into something fantastic and awesome for me and my family. That's the way you have to think about that, guys. You need to think about that. So you're going to decide to do nothing, and today will simply be another big event you attended. Or you're going to decide to become great at your career, at your business, at your craft, and you're going to build a business that will take care of you and yours for generation, like it has for me. I know for me, deciding to be great at Primerica is the best decision I ever made. I've earned over $60 million, approaching 65 actually now. Become totally debt-free, financially independent as a result of that decision. It's allowed us to put our son Dak through UC Santa Barbara and Wharton School of Business, the top 1 or 2 business schools in the world. And he's actually right now meeting tomorrow with a guy that's willing to put up $150 million to help them start their own fund. And they're doing that tomorrow. And he's so excited he can't stand it. I mean, he's going to be the next Warren Buffett. I mean, he's going to be awesome, and I know that. And he's going to make way more money than I ever thought about making. But he's also going to help me make a lot more money, too, so that's good. It's allowed us to put our daughter Janae through Stanford University and the American Film Institute, where she got a master's in screenwriting. She wrote her first full-feature screenplay called The Pretty One, and it's going to be preparing at the Tribeca Film Festival next month in April. And the reason I'm talking about this is because my kids are Primerica kids. They grew up, they were 4 and 5 years old when I got started in Primerica. Janae just turned 33 and Dak is 34. This kind of thinking that I've talked about today is all they've known their whole life. all I've talked to them their whole life is you've got to prepare, you've got to over-prepare, you've got to be more prepared than everybody else. If you want to win big, it's all about the preparation. It's how good you get. It's how you're going to become confident. It's how you're going to become great. And even when you're doing well, you got to keep preparing. You can never let up on preparing. And both of them have done that. And both of them, their careers, they've done well so far, but they're about to just really take off. And from a parent's perspective, it's the most joyous thing possible to watch your kids do. They didn't want to get in Primerica. Dak got it, worked for me a little bit, but he didn't want to be in my shadow. He wanted to do his own thing, and God bless him. That's his life, right? He gets to do what he wants with that life. But to see your kids win and succeed and do well, it's not luck. See, it's not luck. It's what do you talk about across the kitchen table with your kids? What are they seeing you do and say? How do they see you act every day? Are they seeing you actually live the things that we talked about today? Are they seeing something different? Kids pay attention, folks. They pay very close attention. And when I talk to my kids or I hear them talking to their friends or doing stuff, I'm just going, oh my God, they were paying attention. They were listening to me. And it gets me emotional to talk about that because they were. And so are yours. And so are yours. I mean, what's your legacy? What are you going to leave behind? What's it going to be? I worked for 40 years. I got a little pension. Probably won't even get a pension now. I mean, what's it going to be? So, I don't really have time to go over all this stuff, but I want you guys to just get this, so bad. Look, the one thing you can control in Primerica is your base shop and how wide you get. You can't control anything else. I can't control what Tom does or what Mark does or what Chuck or Rick or any of my RVPs do or Steve. I can't control that. My base shop, to some extent, I can control my base shop, and I can control getting wide, okay? For you need to get that going, right? You need to do that. It's impossible to ever be too wide. You can get wide two ways. This is two ways you get wide, right? From the people that you personally recruit and the people that you recruit for people that quit. That's how you do it. If you look at my RVPs, Rick I personally recruited, Gary McCrum I personally recruited, George Verdugo I recruited my brother who recruited George and quit. Same thing with Alan Souza. I recruited Alan. He's the other one I recruited. Who else? Jatinder. I didn't recruit Jatinder. Somebody else recruited Jatinder. His guy quit. Steve Vasquez. I recruited Steve, but he wasn't my direct. The guy that he was under that got recruited by, he quit. Steve Cross, the same thing. And the list goes on and on. All these people who ended up, I recruited them, but somebody quit between them and they rolled up. So there's two ways to get wide. Recruiting directs and recruiting a bunch of people for your people. Some of them quit. We don't want them to quit, but it happens, doesn't it? Okay, so that's how you get wide. I learned you can't motivate people. People either are or they are not. But what I could do is prepare them. So I never worried about motivating people. I'm not a motivator. I've never looked at myself as a motivator. I'm a teacher. I think teaching is much more effective than motivating because motivation is temporary. Teaching lasts a lifetime. When you teach people how, it's the old adage, if you feed them how to fish, you feed them for a day. If you teach them how to fish, you feed them for a lifetime. In Primerica, if you teach them how to do our business, you feed them for a lifetime, right? That's what you do. The reason you have to be focused on recruiting, continuing growing your attendance and recruiting is because you must go through lots of people to find the motivated. You can't do it with a few people. You've got to get your recruiting up and your meeting attendance up where you're having 30, 50, 70, 100, 150 people a week coming out. You're not going to do it with 5 people showing up. You've got to get those numbers going, and how you get those numbers going is by prospecting more and teaching your people how to prospect. You can't get there without a bunch of your people prospecting, okay? Once I found the right people, this is what I did. I focused totally on role-playing and showing them exactly how I did everything. And you saw me do that. You saw me do that with the objections. That was role-playing, right? You saw me role-play. When I would do my Saturday training meetings, my Saturday training meetings were about 80%, 90% role-play, teaching people exactly how to do what it is that they needed to do, okay? Those 7 fundamentals are the things I would focus on. I would make sure everybody mastered them, because if you people don't have those down, they're never going to be really effective field trainers. And if they're not really effective field trainers, they can't build a business. It doesn't matter. If a person doesn't master the 7 fundamentals, they're going to never realize their potential. When I put on a meeting, my intention was for attendees to go away with material they could go out and use to get results. That's what today's meeting. That's that CD. That CD has all this information, so if you forgot something, you can go back and you revisit it. You can use it to train your teammates in your base shops with. You can just revisit it for your own use, right? You can look at it and say, let me get this down and understand that. Or you can go to with the mutual funds, you can go to the different mutual fund families and get more information so you can learn more about the funds that you're going to be representing, whatever, okay? This meeting is just a primer to get you moving in the right direction, okay? Role-playing is the next best thing you can do to actually field training. So like for me, back when I had a really big base shop, I was having a couple hundred people come out to my Saturday training meetings. I would do role play because it wasn't physically possible for me to go out in the field with everybody. There was just too many people. So I would role play what it is I did. And what that did, I simulate on an appointment. So I looked at it like it was me taking 200 people or 100 people or whatever on a field training appointment with me every week. So that way they could see how it's done and exactly how it's done. So that even if they were getting field trained by somebody else and that person wasn't quite up to snuff, right? It wasn't as good as I was at that point. At least they could see the correct way to do it. You with me? And they could see it over and over and over again. And I did it over and over and over again. So it's really, you can't replace that. Your goal should be to always, I said this before, transfer the skills you develop and the knowledge you've acquired as clearly as possible to any and all motivated people. You'll know if you're being clear, if you'll see those motivated people starting to get the kind of results you got. If your people aren't getting the kind of results that you get, one thing we know for certain is that your training isn't clear. You're not transferring that skill. You're not transferring that knowledge. It's not clear enough. You might think it is, but it isn't. When you start seeing people get crazy good results, you know that your training's great. If it's not, you need to pay closer attention to what you're doing to make sure. And ask people after, did you get what I talked about? Does that make sense? Can you repeat what I said? Can you do what I'm talking about? You got to ask people if they've got it. Don't assume that people get anything or they understand anything, right? Even today, we went through a lot of stuff. You don't need to remember everything, but you need to go back and revisit it, and you need to go seek out more of it. Your business will only ever be as good as the level of competence of your people. That being true, your focus on training should be incredibly high. That's how I developed, okay? That's how I developed the business I have. That's the way I did it. I want to really encourage you. Thank you very much. Thank you. I want to encourage you. Thank you very much. I want to encourage you to follow me on Twitter. I know Twitter's free, and I put out a lot of tweets. Maybe I'll bug some of you to death. I don't really care, but they're all about winning. Everything I put out on Twitter is about winning, about getting better, about what I talked about today, okay? And I want you should follow me. Just because those 4, 5, 6 tweets I send out every day, it'll take you 1 to 2 minutes to read them, but it'll help you get your thinking right for that day. All right? That's my goal, is to those of you who follow me, just have your thinking right for that day, so you're not off on a tangent somewhere. And then you should listen to my call, my call that I put out weekly, 951-262-3702, is also designed to get your thinking right about what it is you need to do. And I know a lot of you, how many of you listen to it? Okay, that's good. And you should get all your people listening to it. And why you should get them listening to it is because what you want is all your people to start thinking right. Okay, that call is the kind of call that what I would do at my managers meeting every Monday morning that I did for years and years and years. That's the kind of material I would cover at that meeting, okay? You should listen to those calls, and you should get your people listening to those calls, and you should hold them accountable. And I'm going to just tell you why, because if you can get yourself and your people thinking right, things that you can't imagine will begin to happen in your business, okay? I'm not doing something, and those calls are, I'm not going to step on your toes about how you do your presentation or all that stuff that you do. I don't really care about that, okay? I really care more about getting people thinking right and thinking like a winner, right? Because that's what that is. It's all about thinking like a winner, like a builder, like a producer, okay? That's what that's about, to start thinking, having a much tougher mentality. Because winning in business and winning in life, it's a dogfight, you guys. It's a dogfight. If it wasn't, we wouldn't have so many people unemployment and all the stuff we have. It wouldn't be like that, okay? You're competing with everybody out there, out there in the world right now. You're competing, so you've got to get better. I know for me that my commitment to that is 100% why I've been able to accomplish what I've accomplished in business. And I know, too, you know what I know for certain, too? That I know without a shadow of a doubt? That you could do it, too. I'm not special. I'm not. I'm not one bit special. You know, I am a product of what I've done. But one thing, when you see people winning big, like us that I mentioned here, that we've won big, we've done really great things in our business life, that you should never look at us or anybody like us with awe or with oh my God, they're so great. I don't want you to do that. I want you to think about Hector Marque when he was 18 years old, scared to death, when he was growing up in a house with 9 people in it, 1,000 square foot house with 9 people in it, no money, nobody successful, nobody thinking about the future. Man, if in my family, if you got a high school diploma, they would throw you the biggest frickin' party on earth, like you just won the Nobel Peace Prize. Okay, that was a big deal, right? I want you to think about that guy that was nervous and that was afraid and that was a procrastinator and that was didn't want to talk to people because I didn't know what to say. And that's the guy that's standing in front of you right now. I reinvented myself. Completely and totally reinvented myself. And I know that you can do the same thing. That doesn't mean it's going to be an easy road or everything's going to go smoothly on the way there, because it's not. Crap happens. I don't care who you are. I have stuff go wrong all the time. The only thing that's different for me is I can pay somebody else to handle it. I don't ever deal with it. That's the difference, really. That's the difference. So those people you look up to and see, you should respect them because they've done things to succeed. But you should never be in awe. And you should never feel like you can't do that too, because you can. But you're going to have to do what they did. You're going to have to do what they did. This is the stuff that I did. You want what I have? You're going to have to do what I did. You're going to have to build a big base shop. You're going to have to develop a lot of people. You're going to have to get your people skills up to snuff. You're going to have to get your sales skills up to snuff. You're going to have to know how those products work. You're going to have to get better at teaching it. You're going to have to get better at staying focused and not getting distracted. You're going to have to do all that stuff, because it's not going to just happen because you have a good attitude. You are infinitely more capable than you ever give yourself credit for. Infinitely more capable. I believe in every one of you that you can do it. I know that a lot of you won't do it, but that doesn't change the fact that I believe you can do it. And the fact that I believe you can do it, right, that's the thing you have to have about your people. You got to believe they can do it. A lot of them won't, most of them won't, but if you ever stop believing they can do it, you're never going to get enough people to do it. You've got to believe they can. The rub is the got-yous are going to have to do the work that you did, though. Okay? So that's the gotcha. If there is a gotcha, they're going to have to do that. It doesn't just happen, okay? So that's why I believe, Mark, there's no reason you can't build a business like mine. None. Zero. Nada. You too, Tom, Woody, Rick, Chuck, Jose, Juan, Martin, Jatinder, Alan, Steve, Vasquez and Cross. Every one of you could do it. Every one of you. Don't you ever for a second doubt that you have inherently the ability to do it. Now, you may not be willing to do the work. That's a different story. That's a completely different story. But that never negates the fact that you can. And I know you can. And when you're just with yourself, there's something in you, right? You wouldn't be here if there was. There's something in you telling you, I think I could do this. I think I could do it. It's because you can. You need to listen to that voice. And you need to act on that voice. And you need to go work your tail off to get great at what you do so you can help other people get great at what they do. We'll see you next time. Love you.